Welcome back to the show you've all been waiting for. Okay, scrap that. That was just like my worst ever opening impression. The funny thing is, like, because it's the morning, my voice is very, very groggy, so it makes it very easy to do stuff like that. So I apologize. I apologize for that intro, but this is quite literally, I think, the video that like has taken me so long to get around to, because I've been doing a lot of traveling recently. I'm doing a lot of training, and it's just been kind of just, when can I do it, when can I fit it in, when can I record it, when can I upload it. So this is it. I'm doing it right now. First off, a little bit of background before we get anywhere into this. There's been a lot of like stuff going around like after this event, where people were saying, you know, the power up shouldn't have been used. It should have been like the equalizer. I'm not going to go down that path, or I might get to it later, but I'm not going to go down it now because it's like whatever. But I just wanted to leave everything breathe a bit before I put this video out. So this was the first climb. This is the Watopia circuit with the two climbs on. Is it the figure 8, I think? Yeah, it must be the figure 8. So we come up the first climb off the bridge, and there's people popping lightweights, trying to make out who those people are. It's very difficult. I've obviously sped it up so we're not like here all day. I appreciate your time. I also appreciate my own time. So, but yeah. I mean, I think the first time up the climb was actually fairly easy. You can see down the bottom there my heart rate, my power graph rather. There's just 2 spikes really, and the rest of it is kind of steady. As you'd imagine, you know, everybody who's everybody is still in the race, and it pretty much stays that way the whole race. But as you can see, I've got an audience behind me, and let me explain. So the weekend this was happening, the qualifier, I wasn't at home, so a lot of people are at home doing this. I was actually at the team launch, so my real team, my real physical team in real life. I was at their team launch in Leeds United Football Club, and I actually managed to stream and race. I was really chuffed. I managed to do that for you guys, and although the audio didn't work because I had the Wahoo headwind there, it was like way too blustery on the mic, so we kind of failed there. But in terms of like being able to race, being able to stream, I was chuffed. And bearing in mind it took 5 hours in the car to get up to the day before, it kind of bodes well for the full-on race, which will take place in London. I can't disclose the venue yet, even though we have been told. I can't disclose that, but it will be in London at the end of March. So to say that I'll have a long journey there, like, I'm already in good practice, sort of thing. So this, I've just singled out basically the climbs in this race, and just to talk over them, to be honest. This, as you've now noticed, I've picked up an aero power up. Now for someone my size, like in this race in particular, I was 60 kilos. It's paramount that I get as much advantage as possible where I need it the most. So for me, I got that power up, and I checked the timestamp. I got it at like 10 minutes into the race, and bearing in mind this race is about 1 hour and 10 minutes long. You know, I basically went without a power up. Well, I went without a power up the whole race, really. I could have done with one, if I'm honest. Like, I mean, it wasn't easy up the climbs. It wasn't ridiculously hard, but if I wanted to make it, you know, easier, obviously a feather would have absolutely gone down a tree, you know, right here where everybody's kicking off. But I have to say, like, I felt very, very good today, on this day, like bizarrely good. And I think when we talk about, like, you know, people's performances and how, you know, how can they do that performance, you know, sometimes we always think of like, or the weight, or we always think about the worst sometimes. And you know, I'm not here to say, you know, what's right or wrong. I'm just here to say that, like, sometimes it's often down to how that person feels on the day. Sometimes that person can be on an absolute storm of a day. I wasn't on a storm the other day, but I did actually feel weirdly good. I come over the top here without any power-ups in 7th position, and I kind of make that front split. You know, I was kind of surprised myself, obviously. But the whole kind of race itself just felt very natural for me. And again, to give you a bit of background, like I'd spent most of the winter training on Zwift, doing a bit of racing as well, and I was on a time trial bike. This was actually my first ride on Zwift on a road bike with drop handlebars for months. I've just been sprinting basically on the bull bars on the time trial bike, which of course you can't change gear and sprint at the same time. So, you know, I knew that I'd also have that as a marginal gain if it did come to a sprint in this race, which, by the way, I fully knew this race would come to a sprint. Because I live streamed this and I had people commenting, you know, as I was going along, people were saying like, oh, Ed's going to have to go at some point, he's going to have to attack, he can't wait for the sprint. I was actually going to wait for the sprint. Because there's something sometimes as an athlete, you know when you're on a good day, you know when you can surprise people, you know when the odds are stacking up in your favour. You know, I know what I'm capable of, I know I can do a good sprint, and I know that, you know, with the drop handlebars you've got more leverage, you can sustain much higher power, you're in a more aggressive position. I was on a new bike here, I was on the new Zwift Carbon team bike. I mean, I was actually physically on it, so that gave me motivation to get the most out of myself, because I was on a, you know, a new bike, so to speak. I know it's on a turbo, but you get the idea. You know, if any of you guys have bought a new bike, you know, you get out on the road in it and you're like, wow, you know, I really want to go fast. It's just human nature. So I think a lot of these things started to add up, and when people started to look at the results afterwards and like, oh, you know, I did a great ride, come in 11th, and, you know, just missing out on the top 10. Well, you know, appreciate that. You know, and even me on a really good day, you know, I can only come 11th, and that's true. You know, but I did have to use, not every trick in the book, but I did have to, you know, save the air till the end, not use any power-ups at all through the race. You know, I did have to be mindful of where I was during the race, at the front of the bunch, recovering then at the back, so like I'm here, sat at the back, pretty much, and we fast forward again to the next climb. So this is the second lap now, with 20k to go, coming into the next climb, and this is like 3 minutes of effort, I think. So a little bit of effort just to get at the front and to maintain position. I've always made the mistake of going very early here, so I always like start going here, which, okay, I was there, but at least I saved myself a little bit. I'm still only the 480s, now I'm into the 500s, and if I'm honest with you, I'm still not, like, it's only when I get to the 600s and I'm really starting to go, and there's people popping arrows, and I'm like right in the third wheel, fourth wheel. Ash is there, Ash has just gone off the front. You know, that's the other thing, like, there's guys here that have done great rides in themselves, to be in the top 20, and, you know, we can't take anything away from those people. There's people in the race that you'd expect to be top 10, you'd expect to be top 15, and then there's the people that, like, delightfully surprise you by, you know, just digging really deep, just working hard, and, you know, they get a deserving, you know, top 20 finish. So yeah, in terms of, like, I don't want to go down the route, but with the power-ups, like, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Like, I wanted an aero. I didn't ride before the start and get a power-up. You saw that on the start line. I didn't have any arrows. I didn't have any power-ups. And to be honest with you, I've never, and this is the other thing as well, so if you're comparing it to other kind of, was this me going for an attack? That's bizarre. I don't remember me doing this. Nothing really happens though. I think I was just getting a head start on the descent. But the funny thing is, like, I don't, when I do race on Zwift, I genuinely never get arrows for the final sprint, and I'm never usually leaving it to a final sprint. I'm usually attacking, or, you know, entering a race where it's a hill climb finish, just because of my weight. So I've never really practiced it, I've definitely never had it with an aero. I think a few days before this race, I did a race and I finished with an aero, and my sprint was phenomenal. You know, I couldn't believe how much difference an aero made. But that's like saying, you know, don't get me wrong, if we take errors away, if we don't have power-ups or whatever, it's like having Mario Kart and taking away the banana skins and taking away, like, the red shells and the green shells and complaining that, oh, the green shells go in a straight line and the red shells actually track the racer in front of you. Forgive me for the Mario Kart analogy, but you get the idea. So, like, if Mario Kart were to do the same, we take away all the kind of power-ups and what have you, the items, and then you'd just be racing cars, which, you know, would also be great. So it works both ways, you know. I'm a fan of both ways. I'm not here to say that we shouldn't have power-ups. I'm not here to say that we should. I actually think it makes the racing exciting and more tactical, because it's something different to racing out on the road, and I think that's the appeal. It's something different to being racing out on the road. I think if we didn't have power-ups, it would just be like racing out on the road, and therefore the game might therefore lose its appeal, because I think a power-up at the end of the day is like an equalizer, in some ways, not in all ways, in some ways. So, you know, for me, it brought me up a level in the sprint. For the heavy guys, it brings them up a level on a climb. You know, there's guys popping arrows and flipping. Why are they popping arrows? Why are you using an arrow on a climb? You're not struggling. This guy here is like fourth wheel. What are you using an arrow for? Is it cam? It can't be. Surely not. See, it doesn't come up on the right hand side. It doesn't say who's using it. But that time up the climb was very hard, I must admit. So probably, okay, I'll let everybody off. They are using arrows because it's on power ups on that climb, because it's like hard. So I'll let you off. I'm joking, by the way. I'm joking. You're allowed to use power ups whenever you want, but it's just that's what I love about it. It's just the fact that you've got to think about when you're going to use it, what you're going to do with it, and when will it make the most. When will it give you the most advantage? When will it give you the most benefit? So I left I'm not going to edit this out now because it's the last, well, 6k, last 5k from the climb. Wow, I've just noticed how many Tron bikes there are here. Not sure how much of a difference that makes. In fact, I was actually contacted and asked if I wanted a Tron bike unlocked for me, and I just ignored it. I was like, no, I don't want a Tron bike unlocked for me, because people will know that then I've asked for the unlock for the Tron bike when I haven't worked for it, which isn't fair, because you should work for everything. And you know, for me to just say, yeah, I want the Tron bike, and people just be like, oh, where'd you get that from? I'm like, oh yeah, I got the unlock. Oh, what's the unlock? Yeah, I would explain that. So I just wanted to stay real on my carbon ZWIFT, whatever it is. I have no idea what it is, by the way. But yeah, this last 3k, I was just absolutely. I didn't know what to make of it, to be honest, because the group was so big. I was talking myself out of it. I was like, the group is so big. It's like 30 odd guys. We're all gonna come to the line together. We're all gonna sprint. So it's literally gonna be, you know, 0.001 of a second, like, between us. And that's what I didn't want to happen, but I kind of knew it would. But before we get to the sprint, just as a spoiler, I came 11th, but I qualified in the top 10 because a few guys weren't. Well, one guy wasn't eligible for definite, and maybe a few other guys can't race at the physical location for the final. So I've slipped into the top 10. Yay! So I'm now got to figure out logistics to get to London to do the final, and it's going to be 3 different races, but they're not going to be like Zwift style races. So if you're doing any kind of Zwift racing, it's almost irrelevant to what we're going to be doing there. You're far better off working to your strengths and working around the kind of 3 disciplines that we've been given, which I'm not going to disclose yet. but I will tell you a lot about them soon. So yeah, I qualified. You know, did like a sprint of my recent life, because I used to be able to do like 1200 watt sprints at like 64 kilos, but now I'm like 60 kilos. That's actually come down. Speaking of which, I'm also doing another video soon explaining how my power has changed over the last 6 years, as I've kind of gone from an 18, 19-year-old to a 24-year-old, and as I've raced kind of internationally, and how that's affected it. So that's going to be quite an interesting video. Yeah, so this is it. A little bit of burst of speed to move up, stay near the front. 17th, 20th, 19th, 15th, 7th, 15th. So it's kind of, you're all over the place. Aero gets popped. 400 meters to go. I am in second place. How ridiculous is that? But it is a good sprint. Like, I'm doing my best sprint. Like, then I sit down and flail to the line. So that was the official result. And then of course, you know, it kind of reshuffles when the actual full result comes out. So that is it. Thank you for staying tuned for the last 16 minutes and 20 seconds. I appreciate it. If you've come this far, please give the video a thumbs up and please leave a comment. I appreciate your support. Thank you.